This video is sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning platform filled with people who can teach you the things they know about a lot of different stuff. Hey everyone, it's been a long time. My life has been crazy. I know it's been a little while since you've seen a video. A couple of you checked up on me. So I've had a bunch of stuff going on other than work that's been going on in the shop, but my life kind of exploded. We built a new bathroom in the shop. We finished a bathroom in the house. My parents came down from Saskatchewan to visit. I even got COVID, all while trying to keep things running here at home. Started the garden, did a bunch of other stuff. It's been nuts and I just haven't had time for YouTube. So I'm sorry everyone, but we're gonna be back with a couple of really great videos. This one is the rocker that we've got going in the first part, and we've got the clock on the move. We've got things that are just going through the shop. So we're about to gear up and get some more videos for you to enjoy. So thanks for the wait and let's get to it. Hello everyone, it's Trena from John's Furniture Repair here with another project, and it's one that I gave a sneak peek on a little while ago and we're finally getting to it. And it's this beautiful old rocking chair with a hand woven cane seat and back, and it's in rough shape. We're going to be completely restoring this piece, including the weaving, and we'll be getting it back to a beautiful piece that can live in someone's home. So this guy lived in a garage for a while, and obviously the finish, it was a painted piece before. It had like a yellow finish over top of, if there was a wood finish, I'm not really sure. It's kind of all worn off. And we'll be taking it right down to the natural wood. The customer would like it to just be natural. And the only problem with that is a lot of the wood is very weathered and the patina on the top of the wood is gray. So we'll actually be having to remove that to get the natural maple color back for the refinish process. So that'll be a little tough on the round spindle areas because it's quite a bit of sanding to remove that weathered top area. But actually, for the most part, these areas are still covered with paint. So it's mostly the flat areas that really suffered the loss. So that's good. This piece is mainly put together with mortise and peg on the rockers, and then there's big bolts that go through into the corner of the seat here and into the arms here and into the seat back here as well. I'm not sure what's there because I have to get it apart to see. I think it might just be a nail. We do have this arm. It broke off a while ago, so we've got these pieces, but both of these little dowels here are broken off, so we'll need to repair those as well. But first things first, we're gonna take it right apart, get every piece by itself so that we can deal with anything that's broken, get the paint off, give it a good sand, and when we have all the pieces perfect, put it back together and get on to this weaving. So let's get it apart. Okay, so I'm going to start by getting the other arm off. That hasn't fallen off already. I'm just going to chisel out this plug here. There we go. Reveal the screw in there. It's a big slotted screw. Make sure that when you're taking out slotted screws, you have that groove nice and clean so you can seat your screwdriver right into the base of that slotted screw, and that'll make it a lot easier to get it out when you deal with these guys, because I know they can be a pain in the butt. Use a proper size screwdriver too. These are probably going to be very difficult because of the moisture. So I'm actually going to put this on the floor so I can use my body weight to kind of push and turn with my whole body, not just my wrist. Get it so I can get a really good amount of pressure on this part right here. I'm going to put my leg through the chair so I can hang on to it. Nope, not going to budge. And I might try to put a little bit of the WD-40 just in the hole. I do not want to get WD-40 all over this piece of wood because that definitely affects. Okay, so it's a little bit heated. I'm gonna pop that penetrating fluid in the hole there. I'm also gonna put some water. I'm gonna heat it back up. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a little whirl again. There we go. Now that's probably hot, so I'll just use that rag to grab it off there. Good. So one screw down, a few to go. Probably might have to do that to a couple of them, but it's just because it's rusty. You can see here, it's had the water damage, so that's always a problem when you're dealing with stuff like that. So get it back on the workbench here and look at the other screw on the back right here. So we'll need to chisel this out as well. You can drill these out too. Either way. So the arm has a little bit longer of a screw than the seat. Makes sense. All right, so I just got the rockers off here and I'm just marking which side they go on to. They didn't have a peg in the mortise, so they just came out. There was one nail right there. This is the left side. They're in fairly good condition. None of the wood is really worn. All right, so I'm gonna flip this on its back now that we've got all of the metal fasteners, and I'm gonna take these joints up. And everything is really loose, so nothing's gonna take a lot of pressure. Just set that aside. And now we can hit this, because there are nails in here still, we have to remove both sides here first. And these tacking strips, they used to be screwed on this one side, but they've all popped out, and we'll probably end up redoing that in some way, shape, or form. seeing as the one side has completely removed itself. But just like any other chair, we'll just take up the joints, all 4 joints here on the side. So there's that big nail that went into the seat there. And then we can do the other side. Here we got the seat for you. Oh, okay, so this side has screws holding on the cane here, on the strip that you weave through all along here. They're a little bit difficult to get out. Hopefully they're not super rusty. Shop dog must see my daughter coming home. Good, so then the rest of the screws are missing. This should just pop out. There we go. So now we can take the rest of these joints out. And there's the back. Okay. And then lastly, we'll get these joints taken apart. I'm just going to mark those where they go. Okay, so I've got the back on the workbench here, and you know, if it weren't for a couple things, we could almost save this weaving, and they do take quite a while. You can spend a good 10 to 15 hours on doing something like this. So it is nice when you can save them, but this one does have some broken pieces here. It's also very dry. And we'll be replacing the seat for sure, so it's probably not in the best interest to save it. So there's some broken corners and things, as well as it has shrunk because it's gotten wet, and now this no longer fits the frame, so I have to get these pieces back on the frame. So alas, we have to cut this off. Okay, I was just making some notes. Sometimes on certain shapes of pieces, your holes will have a pattern where they skip a few in a tight spot, mostly on round seats, not on square pieces. So I was just making sure that, you know, there was a diagonal in every hole, making note of where they've been pegged, and how many are, you know, are each in each hole. And then I'll also keep a sample of the width of the binder cane, which is the cane that goes around this piece. And then also I need to know the width of the actual cane that's used, and it's very small, so that we use the same width. If you do not use the same width, then you'll end up with shoving too much stuff into one hole, and it'll get really hard to weave and pull things through. So make sure if you are replacing something, you either change the size of your hole if you can't get that size, or just make sure you can get the same size, and it'll be fine. Or go smaller too. So I'm sorry whoever weaved this chair and did a beautiful job. This always hurts my soul, not on the machine cave pieces, but on hand woven pieces. It's always kind of terrible to cut through hours of work, but it is necessary. So get these pieces all separated. And there it is, off. Still so nicely held together and so done so very evenly with the spacing. Beautiful, beautiful job. Too bad it's gonna go to the burn pile. Okay, so now we can just clean out all of the holes here. And I'm just gonna cut all these pieces and pull everything apart, nothing too exciting. And then we can get on to stripping. I'm gonna leave the seat together. My friend Laura is gonna give her hand at weaving one of these guys. And so I want her to see it together over there. So we'll work on all of this stuff and get it cleaned up. working away on the chair, and just wanted to give you a couple of notes on what we're doing here. So instead of keeping this together for Laura, I've just taken a bunch of pictures and made a map, and this is basically outlining which holes were skipped on which diagonal, and looking at where the pegs were on the original. Not that it's going to be exactly like it was on the original, but just so that she has reference in case something's looking funny on her weave, or she needs to look at what's happening there. So this is just a little legend. Pegs are green where the pegs are. Diagonals going this way. You know, these holes were skipped, and these holes were skipped on that diagonal. Then the red dots are indicating which holes were skipped on this diagonal. So that's just a helpful reference. So we can take that seat apart and re-glue the frame and prep it all up. I've been working on sanding and stripping all these pieces, and I thought it was a maple chair, but now that I've got it apart and stripped, I'm pretty sure it's hard mahogany. So really, really beautiful mahogany. You can see the color here. I'll get a little bit of moisture here. It's just some alcohol. I'll show you the beautiful color. It's got a really nice, old, worn mahogany color. And you can really see that coming through on a couple pieces. Anyways, it's turning out nice, although the person who did paint this did prep it fairly well. So every part that was stripped, like you saw in the video, I had to scrub it with a wire brush. So they sanded the old finish off, and that means the paint got into the wood grain. So we had to scrub it out with the stripper. So that part, and then I was able to sand, because we do have to do quite a bit of sanding anyways, I just sanded off the flat planes on the back pieces and the rockers. Everything else got stripped because I don't want to change profiles with the sander and stuff like that, especially on these guys. So it's these are the last pieces I have in stripper here, and then we can take this guy apart and prep all the pieces and re-glue it and get it ready for the weaving. So other thing I'm going to do is put the back together without the rest of it, so that we can do the weaving that way instead of having the whole chair together. It's just a little bit easier to work with. So we'll get that back together with these side pieces on, and get some new screws for these pieces, because the other ones were rusty. But everything's coming along well, and we should be able to get this pretty much ready for weaving today. Come up. Come. Lay down.
I was looking for some gardening tips because I just started my garden this year again, and I love gardening, and there's a really great little series by Mark Shorter on sustainable gardening and planting using compost and not planting things so that you have to use excessive watering techniques or anything like that. So it's a really cool little series. So if you guys are thinking about starting up your garden this year as the days get warmer, there's lots of other gardening tips on there, as well as so many other things. Check it out. The first 1,000 people to go to Skillshare and use my code will get a month free. So why not look what you can find there and learn.
All right, so I got the seat frame in clamps last night, so I'll take a look this morning and see how it looks. The seat was a little warped before, so when I glued it up, I just made sure to clamp it to this board. So that looks really good, nice and sturdy. I'm gonna give it a final sand with 180, so it's just all ready for finish. Now, each one of these holes that are on here, I went through with a file just to get off any little bits that were left and to smooth it out a little bit. And also when I was sanding, you probably noticed, but I hit this inside edge a little bit more, just because when the cane is sitting on here and the pressure of the person sitting in the weight, it's really nice not to have a sharp edge here because your cane can break right here a lot of times. So just make sure you ease your edge when you're doing this to make sure your cane lasts as long as it can. So I'll give that a final sand and then we're gonna put the back together. Okay, so I've got this back all glued up, ready for weaving. I had to go through my screw collection. They had two types of screws. They had pan heads and flathead here, so I had to kind of find ones that worked. So we went with a Robertson, some old Robertsons that I had that were the right diameter, and two of the flatheads. So those are all secure, and it's also, this whole thing is epoxied in place, and I used epoxy because the back of these pieces was rough milling, and so there's a lot of jagged edges and gaps. So I really want to, stop this from happening again, where this whole piece pulled off with the weaving. So I wanted to fill those gaps, so I had to use the West system for that. But other than that, we've got the whole thing together here, and joints are tight, everything's cleaned up, looking really great. And same with the seats, so we can leave the rest and get on to this last repair here. And I really do think this is maple still. I'm not the best at wood identification. It always confuses me. It's got a nice color anyways, whatever it is. So let's get this block glued on to the arm here. It's missing that chunk we were working on a little bit yesterday. And we need to do some shaping with that after it's dried. So we'll get on to this repair. right, so I got this piece glued on yesterday, and I just cut it to a rough shape on the bandsaw and did some sanding. I don't want to sand it any farther now until I fit it onto the chair and make sure everything looks good, because there is a transition point here that needs to be pretty nice. So I've just been fitting it here without any of the other chair parts on, and it looks pretty good. There definitely is some refining, a little bit of a nub here that I need to sand off still. But before I do that, I just want to dry fit these spindles in with the chair seat here to make sure everything's looking good. So I'm just going to grab this chair seat. And the seat had 2 nails on either side. I'm not going to stick those in, I'm just going to put this in place. And they were actually square cut nails, so that's a little bit more what I was expecting with this piece, other than all the screws that I've been pulling out, because it is a pretty old chair. Yeah, so these guys here, we're just holding in either side, and that makes more sense to me. So we did our repair on these guys too. We got our new dowel. This one was broken off here on this side, as well as the bottom of this one was broken off. So we got a couple new dowels in here, and I just want to fit, these are the same size, so I'm just going to pop them into place. And then I just want to grab the front leg that goes with this one. It's one of these guys. This guy goes, yeah, this guy here. And I'm just going to pop this in place here. I might have to drill that out first because I did epoxy these pieces in. But I just want to dry fit that all together to make sure that these dowels are lining up with the chair seat and that this is lining up okay, so that there's not a lot of tension on anything. You know, I might need to change this angle a little bit, but I think I have it good. So let me drill this out and we'll dry fit it on. Okay, so I got that all drilled out. Just pop that in there. See how it's looking with the chair seat. Kind of have to go in first here. There we go. Yeah, see, this angle is a little bit different right here. Just wanted to check that first. And then this guy here. I'm gonna clamp this down to see if I can get that seat. These things should just naturally kind of fit back where they're supposed to go without a lot of tension. And I can see that this is quite a bit of tension this way. Which seems quite weird. So if that gets screwed down right there, I'm just going to need to change this angle a little bit, which I'll grab a pencil and make a mark. Just to straighten it out a little bit, it needs to go, take off a little bit on that side. Definitely when you're making new parts, you want to make sure you do the dry fit, because this whole section here is kind of critical. It needs to line up with everything here. So I'll make that adjustment. I'm not quite sure why it's pulling over this way so much. Might be that one of my dowels is not quite right. So I'm just going to do a couple more checks here and adjust things if I need to, just to make sure it's all working right. Okay, fix this angle a little bit, and this dowel, the new dowel that we made, was a little bit fat. So I fixed that and made it a little bit shorter as well. So let's give this a whirl again. This needs to pull up like that. Seat. Yeah, so I'll be sitting in there. Pull tightly there. Yeah, that looks much better. I'll finish sand it when it's installed on here after the cane work's done. But definitely looking really good. For sure this point can come down. Yeah, I like it. Just checking all these angles. Make sure everything isn't too strained. Looks good. So right now I've got, I'm just gonna finish sanding this arm, the rest of this arm, and there's a couple of little repairs from the screws that we dug out of the tip and the repairs that we did there. So I'll finish that, and then I'm gonna take everything over, probably dry fit it all together and take it all over to the booth and put a couple coats of lacquer, just clear over top of this maple, I believe it's maple. And that is just going to protect the wood from water spots as we do the cane work, because weaving requires some water and it usually splashes and splashes all over, and I don't want water spots all over this thing. So we're going to seal the entire piece so that we can just have it all looking good. And that way I can see if there's anything else I need to color match and all that kind of jazz, and see how it's looking and know if I need to tone or what. So I'll finish getting this sanded up and then we'll take it all to the booth.